Welcome to episode 100, you guys. 4.5 years of EVGOTAM under the belt, and we're celebrating 100 episodes by dissecting, in my opinion, the most infuriating choice in gaming history. Choices in games started getting popularized around the late 2000s with stuff like Heavy Rain and probably other examples, but the first game I ever played where choices were touted as actual game changers was Sucker Punch's 2009 gritty open-world superhero game, Infamous. I've been replaying the franchise on my channel recently through streams. Check those out if you want. I'm getting good highlights out of them because the games are unintentionally hilarious and I am intentionally hilarious. Great pairing. In Infamous, you play as an electricity-spewing anti-hero named Cole, who gets powers by accident in an explosion, and the game judges your actions through a karma system. So depending on the choices you make, you can gain good karma or evil karma, shaping who you are to the public and what kinds of power upgrades you can inherit. Throughout the game, you'll make specifically designated story choices. Your city is under quarantine because of a plague, and things have gone to hell, so the first big choice is after the government drops some food and supplies from a plane in the middle of the town square, you can choose to either let the public have at it along with you, or electrocute a few of them and take the food for yourself and your friends. It's kind of a false choice to begin with because the amount of food you get doesn't actually make a difference. The story doesn't continue with you either starving or sitting pretty. It just serves to elicit a reaction from your best friend and girlfriend as to what kind of person you are. In the first Infamous game, most choices end up being either do the good choice, which generally involves some kind of superficial sacrifice that doesn't have any actual negative self-consequences, or do the evil choice, which generally involves being an asshole for absolutely no reason. Like in another section, a new gang called the Reapers controls the streets and sets up tar pumps on water towers that are poisoning civilians' water supply, and when you get to the top of the towers, you have a choice of either shockwaving the pumps, which will get the tar all over you but clear the supply, or overloading the pumps, which will keep it from covering you but make civilians get sicker before the supply clears. But if the tar covers you, it literally just disorients you for 5 seconds and then you're fine. There's no real sacrifice being made. So the good decision has no downsides, whereas the evil decision will kill a multitude of civilians for no actual reason other than to avoid a temporary, superficial adverse effect that barely even registers as an adverse effect. So most choices in the first game are, shall we say, not difficult to make, either from a logical or moral standpoint. There's a very clear winner no matter how you look at it, and the only reason you would pick the evil choice is because you've committed to an evil playthrough for trophies. But there is one set of choices in particular in Infamous that is set up so fraudulently that it's really just wrong on every possible level with no good outcome, despite the game labeling one of the choices as the good choice. And that's the one I'm going to be focusing on today. Spoilers for Infamous if you haven't played it. I do recommend the whole franchise. They're great games across the board, at least the main ones. And the whole series is available on PS Plus cloud streaming, with the third game, Infamous Second Son, I think being free to download for anybody who has any level of Plus subscription. And that game features a different story with different characters, so you don't need to have played the originals. So towards the end of the game, our girlfriend Trish gets kidnapped by the main antagonist, and he sets up a little morality game for Cole. At the top of two neighboring buildings, civilians are dangled from ropes and threatened to let fall. On one building is Trish, the love of our life, the girl we're set to marry, hanging by herself, and on the other is 6 doctors, all hanging together. The antagonist tells us we only have enough time to climb up one building and save its danglers before bombs explode both rooftops. Now, depending on your karma, Trish thinks differently of us. If it's a good playthrough, she loves us. If it's an evil playthrough, she hates us. But that doesn't actually make a difference to the scenario itself because Cole still would like to save her either way. So now we have a choice to make, and I have a great many problems with it. The first problem is the fact that saving the 6 doctors is labeled as the good choice, while saving Trish is unceremoniously labeled the evil choice. Dude, fuck you. She's our girlfriend. She loves and, more importantly, trusts us, and the game's trying to act like a good, honest citizen would betray the trust of the person closest to him, leading to her immediate death, just to save 6 rando doctors for the greater good. I do not believe that is the moral thing to do. That's something a robot who was programmed to treat morality like a math problem would do. That doesn't make it good, it makes it a goddamn calculator. The number of doctors is also completely arbitrary because according to that sort of pragmatism, even if it was just 2 doctors instead of 6, it would still be the right thing to do. Trish is also a doctor, or at least a nurse, I'm not sure, so she would at least tie with there only being 1 doctor on the other building. There is a point where the amount of doctors should maybe tilt the good choice in favor of saving them, but it sure isn't 6. Come back to me when it's 50, and even then I don't like it. The guy who makes the decision to save the 6 doctors shouldn't have any friends, family, or a relationship of any kind, because those people will know that when the chips are down, no matter how close they are to him, their ties don't matter. All he cares about is the greater good, and he will leave them hanging from a bomb-strapped building if it means a few more doctors can treat some gunshot wounds. I've heard some people refer to this as an example of the trolley problem, but I don't think that's really applicable. In the trolley problem, a train is traveling down a track and on course to hit 5 people, but a bystander can choose to switch the track so that it only kills 1. That means a core tenet of the trolley problem is inaction, the choice to do nothing. Infamous doesn't allow that. You have to take action one way or another, which means culpability is assured. With the trolley problem, you can at least make the excuse that it's not your problem to begin with, and do nothing because you didn't contribute to any of the circumstances that caused it, plus the act of switching the track makes you a literal murderer because you intentionally caused the death of the one person, even if it was to save the other 5. In Infamous, you don't murder anyone, you just save the only person or people you have time to save. But this isn't even the whole scenario. There's another factor at play that renders whatever decision you make inconsequential, and it does so by literally bending the rules of goddamn reality. You see, if you pick the good choice to save the doctors, then Trish falls to her death from the other building as expected. But if you pick the evil choice to save Trish, then it turns out the woman on the building by herself wasn't even Trish, and Trish was actually one of the 6 doctors. Ooh, diabolical, you may think. Except no, because they cheated the laws of time and space to make that happen. Let me be real clear about this. Before you make the choice, Trish is the one by herself on the building. Every hostage has a bag over their head, so you can't see who they are visually, but when they pan over to Trish hanging from the rope, not only is she wearing Trish's only outfit, she calls out to Cole, and it's very clearly her voice. The same voice she's been using the whole damn game. It's Trish. Period. So what we have here is a Schrodinger's cat situation. Schrodinger's cat is a thought experiment, where you have a closed box in front of you with a dead cat inside. If you open the box, the cat is dead. But since you can't see the cat until you open the box and don't know if it's dead beforehand, it asks whether the cat is both alive and dead at the same time until your choice to open the box and perceive it renders it one result over the other. Applying this to the Infamous choice, that would mean that the woman alone hanging from the building is both Trish and not Trish at the same time until Cole makes the decision that solidifies her as one thing over the other. But even this isn't perfect, because we've already perceived Trish as Trish with our ears when she calls out to us before we make the decision, so she can't really be the random other chick too. So the idea that they were going for a Schrodinger's cat situation isn't even a probable interpretation, so the choice just sucks anyway. One theory posits that since Kessler, the main antagonist, had the ability to travel back in time and used it to set up most of the events leading up to where the game starts, that he just goes back in time whenever Cole makes an unexpected choice and sets it up the other way so it works in his favor. But based on the cutscene that explains him using that ability, they made it seem like he was only able to do that the one time, in which he went back decades and planned everything in the only shot he had. Another spoiler alert, but Kessler is Cole from the future, and did all this to prepare him to face a future enemy that's coming, because Kessler made the wrong choices in his own life and wanted a do-over for his past counterpart. Because of this, you could guess that Kessler has a pretty good idea of how Cole thinks, being that he is him, and could accurately predict his moves. But the issue with that is that there are 2 possible universes we play the game in. One where Cole is good, and one where Cole is evil. You can also make a balanced amount of good and evil choices if you want to be a weirdo, but the game will still tilt you in one direction or the other if you're close to the middle. Predicting the choice just by going off his current karma in the days leading up to it doesn't fully exonerate the inconsistency. Like, you could say, oh, he sees that Cole has good karma in this universe, so he will expect him to make the good choice and save the doctors, and therefore not make Trish one of the doctors. But you can have good karma and still choose to save Trish instead, and the same thing will happen. She will still have been one of the 6 doctors, and you've just got some random chick in your lap. That's where it's too fishy and just doesn't work. So for me, this setup does not work ethically, logically, or metaphysically, is an absolute disaster on all fronts, and is the worst set of choices in video game history. Great games, though. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter at Sunburned Albino. Watch all my other videos, or choose to watch someone else's videos, and they'll superpositionally turn into my videos anyway. And I'll see you guys next time.